In 1891, John Fannin, the Royal BC Museum's first curator, published his list of British Columbia birds. That was the start of the museum's publishing program, and next month a fascinating book on the history of a very special place here on Vancouver Island will now be published. Veronica Cooper has more.
I started going to Todd Inlet when I was a few months old.
David Gray is a researcher, writer, and documentary filmmaker, and he has a story to tell about the small inlet at the end of Saanich Inlet.
Our family boat was kept at Todd Inlet. Of course, we fished and we swam and we played and we explored. And my brother and I, one day when we were exploring up the creek on one of the steep banks under the huge broadleaf maple trees, we found stuff. I mean, it was basically a midden, a garbage dump. And amongst the stuff we found were skulls of pigs. These skulls, they had very sharp, long teeth. So these are two of the pig's teeth that we found way back then.
10-year-old David didn't realize then.
We were finding the remnants of the immigrant Chinese community that worked at the old cement plant that was established at Todd Inlet in 1905.
Around the same time, David discovered the Royal BC Museum.
I remember when I was a member of the Victoria Junior Naturalist Club, we would go to the museum on Saturdays and watch films, and we had various staff members talking to us. And on one wonderful weekend, Dr. Clifford Carl, the director, had us all in for a workshop on how to stuff a mouse. And that was the first time I realized that museum specimens were something that people did for a living. I didn't know that biologists even existed then. So my connections to the museum go a long way back, and they're still really important. So it's an incredible honor to have my book on the history of Todd Inlet being published by the Royal BC Museum.
The book is called Deep and Sheltered Waters, The History of Todd Inlet.
The book starts way back with the Tsartlip First Nation oral histories, explaining some of the things that were found and what the villages may have been like. And then moving on into the days of cement, the factory starting in 1904. Todd Inlet was an important place in the world. Cement from Todd Inlet was exported in the 1920s to Australia and South America, to Cuba, to China.
The book also includes the Canada C3 expedition of 2017. Todd Inlet was the last stop on the 149th day of the journey.
I was on 3 of the Arctic legs, and then I flew out to Victoria at the end of the expedition to greet the ship as it came in by Zodiac into the wharf at Todd Inlet. We had, 30 or 40 school kids, people who used to live at Todd Inlet. And that was extremely exciting to both welcome all my colleagues from C3 and all the other participants. I had made maps of the historic sites. I'd looked at the ecology of the area. I'd played there as a kid. I'd interviewed all sorts of people who worked there and lived there. The book has been a very wonderful wrap-up of all those years.
Deep and Sheltered Waters publishes November 6th from the Royal BC Museum.
This Week in History, brought to you by the Royal BC Museum, bringing British Columbia's stories together.